Forced to work from home by your employer? Laid off or feeling depressed at home? Do you want to make money working from anywhere? We'll show you how to do it from your couch. It's time for another episode of the Work From Home Show. Coming to you from their homes in Austin, Texas and Tampa, Florida, here are your hosts, Adam and Naresh.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Work From Home Show. I'm Naresh with Adam. Today we have Dr. Shefali on the show. She is an Oprah contributor and multiple New York Times bestselling author of The Conscious Parent, also Superpowered, Transform Anxiety into Courage, Confidence, and Resilience, the book Out of Control, Why Disciplining Your Child Doesn't Work and What Will, and the new book, which is highly relevant to today's post-pandemic world, A Radical Awakening, Turn Pain into Power, Embrace Your Truth, Live Free. Dr. Shefali, thank you so much for joining us on the Work From Home Show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, I want to touch on your latest book, A Radical Awakening, as well as your previous books, because I think over the past few years, due to the pandemic, due to lockdowns, it's been more important than ever to be a conscious parent and to deal with anxiety. Your books are all related to each other, I think. So let's start first with parenting and how parents can, or your tips and your advice to parents who are working from home, working busy, but then also they have to parent, and maybe in some states they've had to take care of their kids at home more than other states. So what's your advice to parents and how they can cope with all this work from home stuff?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's extremely difficult. It was difficult before, but now there's an opportunity for simplifying our lives. There's an opportunity to let go of the extraneous activities that we were doing because we were so anxious about our kids being the best or competing. And so while we are working from home and it's difficult, we can also use this as an opportunity for deeper connection and for understanding ourselves and simplifying our lives and becoming more centered in who it is we are, so that we can allow our children to also begin to align their lives more with their essence rather than with all this egoic activity of doing.
You have some courses on your website that interested me here, and one of them is you have a free to be, and you say entering empowered conscious relationships in all of your life. What is important, as especially nowadays, as relationships have, thanks to the pandemic, kind of become few and farther between? What are some of the things you need to keep in mind as you're entering relationships or fostering relationships with, new friends, old friends, spouses, children? What are some things we need to be looking at?
Well, that we really, had gotten so addicted to be on this hamster wheel of endless craving, competition, comparison, doing, getting our kids to the best, high school, then to the best college, getting the best careers. And all of that was coming out of a deep manic state of deep anxiety. And the pandemic has slowed us down and sent us back to our homes. And this has been traumatic, not because it's not really actually healthier for us, but because we were so incessantly in the doing state that now to be detoxifying from that feels really threatening. So free to be is an expression where we are returning back home, the home within ourselves, becoming true to our inner being, entering solitude and quietude, and ending the mad race to this endless, incessant search for power, love, and worth on the outside.
I think one of the good things, and what you somewhat touched on, is parents get to spend more time with their children because of the lockdowns and being at home. So I think that's certainly a good thing. I know it can be hard to juggle everything and get some work done, but You talk about in one of your books how parents can recognize their children's potential to spark a deep soul searching, and you talk a lot about the soul and soul searching. So can you just explain to our listeners what exactly is the soul and what is soul searching, and how can parents do their own soul searching and implement that in their children?
Yeah, when I talk about the soul, I'm really talking about the things that are not in the ego-based world that we live in. The ego meaning our search for wealth and competition and achievement and success, and being driven by status or pride or vanity or fitting in. Those are the ways of the egoic world. And the soul meaning all things not that. So our essence, who it is we intrinsically are without having to get all this approval from the outside. So when parents begin to understand, and this is all my work on conscious parenting, that we as parents have to raise ourselves. What that means is we have to heal our own wounds from childhood. Then it is only then that we can even hope to help our children raise themselves into whole and integrated beings. So when parents begin to understand that they have been living in this ego-based world, they then can make a choice. Do I want to continue on that incessant craving of love and worth on the outside? Or do I want to step into a new way of being where I live my life differently and then pass this on to my children?
And how can parents do that? To me, it sounds like good therapy. And I don't know if you can, if you offer classes or sessions or workshops, feel free to plug if you do. But is it through therapy or is it through other means?
Yeah, you have to go on a journey. You have to have a guide, just like you go to the gym and someone teaches you how to use the equipment. In the same way, we need help to understand the inner journey. We need a guide to help us. And that guide could be a book, like my book, A Radical Awakening. It could be a course, like many that I offer or other people offer. It could be a therapist or a coach. But we definitely need someone to help us navigate the inner terrain of our emotional world.
You wrote, I mean, it's on the blaring on the front page of your website. It says here that you share your journey in this book so that readers can see what you struggled with. And through your sharing, you're hoping that readers will find their courage to disrupt patterns that no longer serve them, and in doing so, set themselves and their children free. What are some patterns that you've seen in people that they really need to disrupt to improve their life and their relationship with their children and their children's lives?
Oh, for women especially, we have been indoctrinated and trained to play the role of the good girl, the pleaser, the conflict avoider. And we play this role so well that we've really forgotten who it is we are. We've obliterated our own inner connection for the sake of, feeling connected to the outer world. So this is the biggest pattern disruptor we women have to go through in order to reclaim our power. And I speak to that in the book, all our archetypes and ways of being, and our anxieties and how we can release those to really become powerful, sovereign beings that we already are, but we just don't realize.
Do you have any other advice for women and for moms? Because there's been a lot of media publicity about how women have decided to take time off from work, or maybe they've lost their jobs during the pandemic to stay at home with the children, to tend to the family. So do you have any advice for them as they're looking to get back into the workforce or even make some money from home?
Yeah, I think women are realizing that they need to get off the hamster wheel of exhausting themselves, living to some insane ideal of perfection, and really begin to align themselves with who it is they are. A lot of relationships are going through intense upheaval right now, not because that's a bad thing, but because there's a pivot and an urgent call to end the inauthenticities in our lives. This pandemic has been a global wake-up call to realize that we've not been living to our fullest sense of liberation, empowerment, and worth. So women are getting tired of that. And that's why this book, A Radical Awakening, is coming out at the perfect time to help women on this journey so they don't feel guilty and they can shed their old ways and reclaim who it is they're truly meant to be.
So can you give us like one or two tips of how you really start that journey?
Well, the first step in any journey is becoming aware of the ways we've been asleep, becoming aware of the dysfunction. So paying attention to your life, realizing that the outer chaos that you may be experiencing is not just because of the dog or the child or the bad boss or the husband. It's because of something that's going on within you. And pay attention to your palpitating chest, to your apathy, to your overeating, to your over yelling or complaining or fatigue. These could be signs that your inner world is in a disarray, and it's time to wake that inner sense of healing up, and you go on a journey. So the first step is to become aware. Aware of what? Aware of the signs that your life is trying to tell you that something is amiss and needs to be changed. And then I would recommend at this point to seek the help of a book, a self-help journey or a course, or a therapist or a coach. Because at this point, once you become aware, you do need help from someone to help you detangle your patterns and help you break free. And you can ask as much as you like, how am I contributing to this? But it won't be clear to you because you're too mired in your own story. We need people on the outside to reflect back to us all the ways we are stuck in a cauldron of incessant, predictability and repetition. We need help from outside because the other person is more objective.
The first thing you said, awareness, I think that's a difficult thing to a difficult characteristic to acquire, because most people I come across, and I don't think I'm like this because I read books like yours. I like listening to spiritual topics. I've gone through therapy, counseling, but many people, it's okay, I'm angry, but I'm not angry at myself. I'm not angry because of something that's wrong with me. I'm angry because of, like the examples you gave. I'm angry because my spouse is doing this. I'm angry because my child is doing that. I'm angry because my dog is doing this. And it's always somebody else that is making the individual angry. And it's never, maybe I should take a look inside and see, why am I angry about this? Why is it bothering me? How come other people don't get angry when things like this happen? And I think that's a bigger hurdle to get over. And I don't know how people can make that realization for themselves and say, hey, I need to start looking at myself and being introspective.
Absolutely. Well, you can't force people to awaken. And like you say you're naturally a seeker. Not everybody is a seeker, and that's okay because everyone is at a different place in their own continuum of consciousness. But that's what it takes: a seeker to wake up to what's missing and a desire to grow.
Yeah, and it reminds me, I've read some of the books by another prominent by a prominent psychologist, Dr. Jordan Peterson, based out of Canada, and he talks about his marriage, or when his relationship with his wife before they even got married, and then they got married, and like the first 2 years of their relationship was constant. His wife, let's just give an example. They'd be stuck in a traffic jam, and his wife would hit something in the car and say, "This sucks. I hate traffic jams." And that simple statement would turn into a 2-hour conversation about why is she so upset by the traffic jam, and it would get very deep. And that's what they did for the first 2 years of their life, or the first 2 years of their relationship. And he and the wife both say that it helped their marriage tremendously because they knew each other in and out, and the vulnerability of sharing all sorts of things was extremely worthwhile.
Yeah, so it's that process of being open, sharing, being clear about who it is we truly are is the way to step forward and to break patterns. But we can't do it if we're not seeking. So seeking is extremely important.
So what's going to be the big thing people need to do when the pandemic ends? Because right now we have time. and well, a lot of people have more time. So what do we do once the pandemic starts to make sure that we don't just lose everything that we've been working for?
Yeah, it's really hard. I think many of us are irretrievably altered, and many of us will not go back to the way things were. However, many will, because they've just been waiting to hit the start button again. And that'll be a real tragedy. So, what can we do? I mean, that's just the way of the continuum of consciousness. Some people really decide to, take the helm and make a difference in their lives, and others keep going through the same old things. So it really depends on each different person.
Going back to raising children and children, you talk extensively about disciplining children. I'm very curious to hear your answer to this question. Because disciplining children, I think the popular way to discipline it is to, be aggressive and get mad and time out. But you take an alternative approach. Why do you think disciplining children is a cause of lifelong dysfunction?
Well, because the way we discipline children is we punish them, we shame them, we power trip them. We're not disciplining them, we're just using our power. And most parents don't even think twice to abuse their power. If your kid forgets their keys, you think it's okay to, yell at them. But if you forget your keys, nobody should yell at you. We just have these double standards and utter hypocrisy when it comes to children. We treat them really in a way we wouldn't dare treat ourselves or our friends or our partners, because we know that they wouldn't take it. But somehow, because of what we've been taught through religion, spare the rod, spoil the child kind of approach, we think it's okay to just lay it into our children and not treat them with dignity. And guess what? That's how they grow up to be bullies. And that's how they grow up to be severed from themselves and grow up with this sense of inner shame.
So what's your alternative solution?
Is to, discuss things, have choices, have a deep connection with your children where you don't have to use these high-handed means to get your message across. And there are many other ways to do it. And I explain that in my book. And people always say that, if we don't discipline them, what do we do? There's so many other things we can do if only we took the time to learn those ways.
Dr. Shefali, thanks so much for joining us on the Work From Home Show. You are an Oprah contributor and multiple New York Times bestselling author of The Conscious Parent, your most famous popular book, but also the new book, A Radical Awakening, Turn Pain into Power, Embrace Your Truth, Live Free. Her other books are Superpowered, as well as Out of Control. So check out her books on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, wherever you get your books. The website is drshefali.com. That's Shefali. That's Shefali, drshefali.com. Thank you so much once again for joining us on our show. Our website is workfromhomeshow.com. If you have any questions, hello@workfromhomeshow.com. Email us, hello@workfromhomeshow.com. Leave us a review on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, whatever podcasting platform you use. And until next week, keep on working from home.